So what is going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, drop a like rating if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Make sure you are subbed. But let's get into it. Here we go. Enjoy. So quickly, just before I get into today's questions, as you will know, over the past couple of weeks, Treyarch have been teasing over on Twitter DLC 4. If you don't know, it is arriving in just a few days from now on Monday, first on PS4 of course. We've already seen a trailer for it. That actually wasn't the intro cutscene. At first we believed it was, but it turns out that isn't the case. Apparently the actual intro cutscene hasn't been shown to us yet because today over on Twitter, Treyarch gave us a new teaser, which was this one, and I don't want to cover this in a separate video just because it's so short. There's really nothing to break down, but we can see it is of Nikolai and the children, Samantha and Eddie, in the forest, and the caption with this says, "The madness is nearly over, child." This screenshot obviously wasn't in the DLC 4 trailer that we saw the other day, so this shows it is different. This, what we are seeing here, is more than likely a screenshot of the actual intro cutscene. It's in the comic book style as we expected, but what we are seeing here is the children in the forest with Nikolai. As we've already seen, the other characters are here as well. In the trailer they were having one last celebration before they went into the battle against Dr Monty, but now here we can see the children have joined them as well, because in the previous one the children weren't there, which I never thought about that at the time, but in our last map, Alpha Omega, they were with the Ultimus and Primis characters, so it is kind of strange when you think about it, as to why they weren't in the forest with our characters in the previous trailer. But as we can see in this one, they are. We know this caption is being said by Nikolai, and I would expect the intro cutscene to be shown to us before the map releases on Monday, so sometime this week. And then also, just in case you missed it, yesterday's teaser, because I haven't been covering these small ones, there's just really not much information in them, but it was officially revealed to us the name of the map, which is Tag der Toten. We already knew this from the leaked achievements, but when translated that means Day of the Dead, and this right here is the official poster. It is of a mountain with what looks to be an eclipse happening in the background. There is the moon in front of the sun. Also in the mountains there are loads of zombie faces. I think we know by now the map is going to be Call of the Dead, although what is interesting was another teaser we had yesterday for DLC 4. It was blueprints of what looks to be the Thunder Gun, so clearly this is going to be returning in DLC 4, but there is some information on here which is iced out. Again, more than likely another reference to Call of the Dead, but the Thunder Gun looks like it's going to be the wonder weapon, and I'm thinking more than likely, just like Alpha Omega, how we had elemental ray guns, possibly we could have elements for the Thunder Gun, for different things of what it could do, because if not, if it's just a straight up remake, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. And when I first saw this, honestly I wasn't too excited. We saw the Thunder Gun not long ago in Revelations. If we hadn't seen it since the original Kino or Ascension, I would have been a lot more happy, but if the map DLC 4 is a remake and we also having remade wonder weapons, I don't know. I kind of wanted to see something new. Yeah, elements are cool if that's the case, but I would have liked to have seen something unique, and we can see down the bottom right hand corner, we have the date, 7/23/1963, and there is also a new logo down there, which I don't believe I've ever seen before. The writing is in Russian, and apparently, although I haven't translated this for myself, the writing means Ascension, which could make sense because we know the original Thunder Gun was made in Ascension by the Russians, so for us to have this wonder weapon in Call of the Dead wouldn't be too out of the ordinary because they both take place in Russia. More than likely there was some link between the Ascension base and the Group 9 base in Siberia. But yeah, just before I got into the Q&A, I just wanted to update you guys on the little teasers that we had, since I haven't been covering them on the channel just because I don't think it's worth it. But anyway, the first question of today from Travis says, how does the Avogadro know the future? Now, if you haven't played Alpha Omega, of course we know the Avogadro is trapped inside of the APD pyramid. He is locked in there with the elemental shard, and since the Primis crew came here to collect it, we open up the pyramid, which means we free the Avogadro, but can also get our hands on the elemental shard, and at the end of the Easter egg, it is our job to contain him once again, which is exactly what they do. But in that process, the Avogadro talks to our characters. He begins to say some interesting things and quotes to them. I've chopped up and sorted out what I think are the important lines that he says, so I'm going to play them and then we'll come back and talk about it after.
What did you see in the Colorium? Did you see me kill you? Far Takeo Masaki, does anything define you more than your blind loyalty? Nikolai Belinsky, have you seen your future? I have. Dempsey, what have you become? You think the Marine Corps would approve? Takeo Masaki, a warrior without a master, unless you truly believe in Nikolai. Your ignorance is a blessing, Takeo. It spares you the pain that will destroy you. You are a pawn in a battle you do not understand, Takeo. You will die without honor. You will die in agony when I boil that vodka in your veins. You are just delaying the inevitable. You cannot outrun what is coming for you.
So first off, I think we can definitely say, for some reason, the Avogadro clearly hates Takeo more than any of the other characters. He says some really harsh words to him in here, and he seems to talk more about Takeo than any of the other characters, but we can see the Avogadro knows about the Primis crew. And this is strange because before this he'd never met them. He was only familiar with Dempsey and Richtofen because remember, the Avogadro is actually Cornelius Purnell. He's worked with both of those characters, but as for Nikolai and Takeo, before this map he'd never heard of them. But we can see for some reason he knows things about them. And why is that? Well, it seems to be because of his connection to the Dark Ether. We know before this, Samantha was in his head. She told him about Argotha, the Ether, the Angels, the Great War, so more than likely, she would have told him about the Primis characters, Nikolai and Takeo. But in his first quote, he also says, "What did you see in the Canorium? Did you see they kill you?" Now, I'm not too sure who he's saying that to in game. It could be Richtofen, because we have killed his Ultimus version in the Giant. He could have said this quote to Ultimus Richtofen, but he already knows that. He could be saying it to Primis Richtofen, because we've recently seen him die in Blood of the Dead, and we know now in Alpha Mega it is a different version of him again. But to me, it sounds like he's talking to Primis Nikolai, because he says, "What did you see in the Canorium?" And we know only him and Richtofen have read it. So unless anyone knows specifically which character he's talking about, more than likely it's one of those two, and actually, he might not be speaking about the past, but the future. He could be saying to this person, "What did you see in the Canorium? Did you see they kill you?" And one thing I think we're all forgetting is, back in the Alpha Omega intro cutscene, not only did that show DLC 3, but half of that trailer showed DLC 4. Nikolai, who was narrating that, was talking about the Great War, and one thing he says towards the end is, "I know what must be done and who must do it. May they all have mercy on my soul." Remember, Nikolai was given the Canorium for a specific reason, because he is the only character out of the crew that still has his own soul. I think we're all forgetting that Nikolai's soul is going to play a big part in DLC 4. In what way, we're still not too sure, but could the Avogadro be telling us that Nikolai is going to die in DLC 4? And by the way he's talking, "May they all have pity on my soul," he knows what must be done, he knows that it is only him that can do it. He's talking in a sad way. He is kind of making it sound like this time it will have to be him who dies. Could the Avogadro know this? I've already said in a couple of videos that we could be seeing Richtofen die. As we also saw in the Alpha Mega intro, the characters who go to Monty's house, which is Primis Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Ultimus Richtofen, end up fading away. But it does seem like the Avogadro knew more than we thought. Does he know how this is all going to end? Has he already seen it happen? Which, if that's the case, I would have to question. If he knows the future, surely he must have known that it wasn't going to end well for him in Alpha Omega. Maybe he did know that. If that's the case, he definitely didn't make it seem that way, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And finally, Hayden says, "What's your opinion about every map in Black Ops 4 for the Ether story being a remake of classic maps?" I think you could tell by my reaction at the start about Tag der Toten being Call of the Dead. I'm not really too happy. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Every map in Black Ops 4, if this is true, if DLC 4 is Call of the Dead, would have been a remake. We've had Classified, which is 5, Blood of the Dead, which was Mob, Alpha Omega, which is Nuketown, and Tag der Toten, which is Call of the Dead. In my opinion, yeah, it's actually really disappointing. And the fact that the wonder weapons have all been remakes as well. We've had no new wonder weapon. In Classified we had the Winter's Howl, Blood it was the Blundergart, Alpha Omega the Ray Gun Mark II, and DLC 4 looks to be the Thunder Gun. Yes, they might be different versions, different elements and stuff like that, but essentially it's the same wonder weapon. Honestly, yeah, I've been quite disappointed. But maybe we'll save that for another video, maybe an end of year review after Black Ops 4 is finished. But there we go. As always, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed today. God, I've gotten angry now. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. Drop a like rating. Only if you want to, of course, it's totally fine. Thank you guys for watching anyway. Make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.